So one of the things I think we need to pay much more attention to is innovation and the process of innovation. And again, there's quite a lot of literature about this and thinking, but I don't think we apply it very readily into human services. It's all been applied in the private sector. But it's quite easy to get your head round how innovation actually works just by thinking about all the technology that we use or all the way things change in our society about us. So again, a pretty classic formula that I think is really useful is that innovation has 4 main phases. It starts with basically having to create something out of nothing that nobody believes in and everybody thinks you're mad. So anybody who's done anything good in human services will know that the first phase felt dreadful because everybody thinks you're just crazy. And then the second phase is you actually get enough happening so that you suddenly the idea becomes both sexy and controversial. So suddenly you have this big trade-off fight about the new idea. Individualized funding, mostly around the world, is actually still stuck at the second phase of innovation. It's never got beyond that very much. I think there's some places where I think it might be at a tipping point, but in England, that's certainly we suddenly got this surge of energy because of the way that we'd framed individualized funding to make it much easier for local systems to take it on quickly. It became a lighter task because we were thoughtful about pragmatically how would you make this real in your community. The third stage of innovation is when it goes big, when it happens for most people most of the time. And that's what I would say, with the kind of things we're talking about, we're struggling to get to that big stage. Now think about, for instance, I'm a bit of an Apple fan, but just think about that in computer terms. Think about what Steve Jobs did to make computers a consumer product that everybody got. He made it easy. He made it work. He made it not something that you would have to spend loads of time doing loads of paperwork, or building the nuts and bolts. He made it a very simple, burdenless process so people could get on and have fun. So I think that the big challenge for us in the movement is to be much more mindful now about what are the things that would move us on to that next stage. And again, in a sense, how would individualized funding become a platform for all the fun, interesting life and community stuff that we would do with it? That would be the sign. The sign that we were getting to that stage is, we'd get a usage rate of 20+%. It would start to feel much more normal. And all over the place, we'd see people doing wonderful things with what they're doing. Just to say one little bit more, because I do think this is important, when you really look at how innovations develop, the fourth stage is it kind of takes over and dies. Okay, and I think this is something to be mindful of. If we're really, really successful with self-directed support or individualized funding, it will disappear. It will become so natural we won't even think about it. It will become like how we treat the internet now. And we're just amazed when we don't get an internet signal or we can't connect to the Wi-Fi in the hotel, all of this stuff. And I'm a bit of a dreamer, but I think actually some of the problems we're struggling with will be solved, for instance, when all of this disappears into a decent system of income security, where people just get it as money, and we never had to have a support plan and all of the bogus nonsense that's currently associated with wresting power from the current human service system and trying to transfer that power into the lives of people and families. So I suppose what I'm saying is even the things that we think are quite interesting and powerful now, I strongly suspect if we're good at what we're doing and we move at some pace, then in 10 or 20 years, the whole challenge should feel radically different. We should be moving on to closing self-directed support down in a funny way.